Hi everyone, this is Hasina Patel. I am the co-creator of the Bubbles Beyond Borders campaign to support the rights and dreams of girls and women and also to support gender equality. So this campaign happens in August every year, and this August I'm interviewing people around the world who support the campaign and believe in gender equality. That's something that we're working on in our world because there isn't gender equality. And I am privileged to interview Elise Campbell today. So Elise is a photographer. She does rescue work with dogs, and she's also an educator and a mom of two daughters and a son. And Elise, where are you from in New Jersey, or what?
I am from Rivervale, New Jersey, right about 45 minutes outside of New York City.
Oh, awesome.
Very northern New Jersey. It's in a county called Bergen County.
Okay. Yeah, well, I must say New Jersey, New York, two of my favorite places in the United States. And I know that Elise feels very strongly about gender equality. So Elise, let me ask you, why do you support the Bubbles Beyond Borders campaign, and why do you feel so strongly?
Oh, I love the Bubbles Beyond Borders campaign. I feel like gender equality is good not just for women who right now do not have gender equality, but it's also good for men. It's good for everyone how they identify. You know, studies show that women are more intuitive than men. That's not a stereotype. That's not a dig at men. It's based on science and brain studies, while men are absolutely, in general, right? Not everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We can think of people who don't fit this, but in general, men are physically stronger than women based on muscle mass and all kinds of science. And so in some ways, women and men balance each other out. And so the more we have, for example, in the workplace, women working with men, we have not only the strength and the leadership that generally men provide, but we have a whole other perspective, which is intuition. Mm-hmm. And when we combine men's typical assertion with women's intuition, there's a whole additional piece of information coming in for how best we can serve in whichever industry we're dealing with. In addition to that, women who speak and use their voices to speak up are seen as too aggressive, and they're not well liked in many communities because they're using their voices and speaking up. Mm-hmm. Whereas men, when they speak up, are seen as, they're revered as leaders.
Yeah.
And so somehow, if we can bring these things into balance, I feel like men, women, people in between can absolutely be more productive and serve the world better.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, how they complement each other in the workplace. And obviously, like you said, there's so many people who don't fit any kind of generality or stereotype. But I've had men say to me that emotional intelligence, which is something that is now leaders in the workplace are looking for, that are using actively in their leadership techniques, that is so necessary. And men are also recognizing that part of the equation too. I think there's like a lot of overlapping, and we need to realize that there isn't, like a men's pigeonhole and a woman's pigeonhole. We can be in the same environment and still promote gender equality and use and learn from each other's unique strengths.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just to piggyback on that, I lost my train of thought. When people in the workplace are trying to be productive, or leaders in the world, we take in as much information from as many sources as we can in order to make informed decisions. And so when we pull into the field of intuition, when we're using intelligence, emotional intelligence to read people, and we have the hard and fast statistics, that's when we can really make change and make a difference, I think.
I agree, definitely. And then last question, as an educator, I mean, you see how children, and having 3 children of your own, you see how they start off in life and they just have such a sense of the self-worth. They never feel rejection. They're just amazing. I mean, I've had a baby come into my life recently, and it was, wow, she's 18 months old, and you know, I've known her, and she doesn't feel rejection. She'll come get a hug when she wants one and expect people to be receptive to her. So the question is that somewhere along the way, this gets distorted, and our kids they start feeling like they can't, or they're not worthy enough. How would you, as an educator, say that other educators or other parents should build on the self-worth that children are born with? And here I say especially girls, because girls are often given limitations, like you can only be this or be that.
Right. That's a wonderful question, and I think there are 2 pieces to this. One is that as children mature, I believe that when we're born, we're really connected to our source, and then society and other people and what they impose change our connection and kind of distort our connection. So as time passes, the second piece of this is that children, and especially girls, change their behavior and rely more on outside perception of their behavior than on their own internal direction. So girls particularly seem to shut off a piece of themselves to be good girls, to do the right thing, to fit into society's standards for them. And I do see this with boys too. But for many centuries, our society has been really a patriarchy, really male-led. And so what men thought and how men operated dictated how women should be. So as a teacher and as a parent, one thing that I do constantly is reinforce self-worth from inside of a girl's own self. Not what I think of you. Okay. My girls know I think you're fabulous. You're divine. You're amazing. However, when you come up to me and say, oh, do you like my art? Do you like what I just made? My first thought is not, of course I like it. It's, how do you feel about it? Do you feel great about it? You do? Well, then I do too. I want to support children, and particularly girls, in feeling good about themselves. So, and modeling that for them when I can, and being honest when I can't, right? Because we're all human and we all fluctuate. So certainly helping children to internalize their self-worth instead of getting it from me or any other adult.
And that is such a great point, that it comes from internally, your self-worth, and that's a reminder that all of us need, children and adults, that we're always looking to others for validation, but that's really not the thing. We need to look within and see if it's aligned with how we feel. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And if I may, I feel like in some ways we've done a great job with telling girls, you can do anything, you can be anything. So now high school age girls are better at typically male subjects like science and math. But what's happened is that the expectation on them has just been built up. So they're still expected to be good at reading and look pretty and be good with children, and now they can do science and math and play sports and do ballet and all these things. And so they're taking on this role of needing to be perfect. Mm-hmm. So as we've kind of hit the mark in terms of telling them they're fabulous and they can do anything, mm-hmm. somehow we've missed a mark where they feel like they need to be perfect at all of it. And I do think social media plays a huge piece in that for our girls.
Yeah.
So
I love that we're not looking at them as just individual beings instead of what we expect from them and
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And there's so much weight on the final performance, instead of the process. I have a daughter who represents what I've just described. She's a teenager. She does theater. She's up till late at night. She wants to have perfect grades. She wants to look beautiful in photographs. And at one point she had a test the next day, and she had a rehearsal until late at night. And I praised her for choosing not to study for her test the next day. I said, Madeline, it's late at night, and we all have to make choices sometimes. And if you stay up late, you may not learn the information anyway, and you may be too tired, and you may get sick, and you're just pushing yourself. And so something has to give. And so I praised her for making a choice that would result in a lower grade, but a choice that was good for her own well-being, I thought, as her mom. So, and we should all.
Yeah, as adults, we make those choices every day. So our children need to learn to make the same choices.
Yes, yes. There's not a, I do see with females, there's more of a need to appear perfect. Truly. And to still say, I really don't want to make plans with this person, but I don't want to hurt his feelings. What should I do? Or I see boys of the same age saying, no, thanks. I don't want to. And there are no questions asked. You don't need to explain. Girls always tend to feel the need to explain or say why they said no, when sometimes it's okay to say, I apologize, and I can't do that right now.
Yes.
So
I've had to actually look at my own behavior earlier in my life and realize that why on earth am I explaining myself? Because I don't owe anyone that explanation.
Right.
A lot of women are.
And sometimes there is more integrity in holding your reason to yourself. It's kind of owning a bigger piece of yourself than saying, oh, I'm sorry, but I have to do this and I have to do that. And sometimes the answer is no, only because you need that time to yourself. No, for no other big emergency or reason, just I'm honoring myself right now. And it's so hard for women, I feel, to do.
But it's the most important reason.
It is. And especially when we have younger girls who are watching us and learning from us. So
that is true. Well, on that note, Elise, we're going to end, and it's been amazing because there's so much value in what you've said and this discussion. I think a lot of people will learn from it and take a step back and look at, well, what are my girls doing? Or how can I, as an educator, help kids, and especially girls? How can we help our children? How are we stereotyping, and how shouldn't we? Because really we shouldn't. We just tend to without really consciously looking at it. But yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lucina. Good to see you again. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.